So leading the pack of the panelists and the scholars will be Juma Omala, who is a MasterCard Foundation scholar and a Master of Public Policy student at McGill University in Montreal in Canada. This is not his first scholarship. He has previously won the Chevening Scholarship, where he studied Master of Public Health degree from the University of Liverpool. He's a team lead at Both Step Initiative, a community-based organization that keeps young people with job readiness and entrepreneurial skills in Kenya. He considers himself a learner who always seeks out opportunities to be both a better person and professional. So in his free time, he enjoys Afro music and cooking a good Kenyan meal. Let me sincerely appreciate Juma, because I do not know Juma directly. I'm friends with Gbadegesin, who is also a panelist in this conversation. Gbadegesin is a very good friend of Juma, and that's why we have Juma here come to share his experience with us. So this meeting is being recorded. Please kindly take note of that. So I am going to touch on the second facilitator, but the way it's going to go is that we will have 20 minutes presentation via PowerPoint from Juma, and then we'll go into question and answer. It is at the point of question and answer that we'll bring in the other facilitators, myself. My name is Gbenga Asaolu. You'll get to know me as the meeting goes on. Then Gbadegesin Alawode and Segun Ibitoye. So the next person I want to introduce to everyone on this call is Gbadegesin Alawode, who is a serial innovator, a social entrepreneur and development practitioner. He is a recipient of the 2014 Katsina State Governor National Youth Service Corps Honors Award. His 2016 Women Deliver Conference full scholarship recipient in Copenhagen in Denmark. He's 2017 fellow of the Dutch Nigerian Student Business Challenge in Netherlands. He's 2018 Future Leaders Connect Nigerian finalist, 2021 Orange Corners Incubatee, and 2022 Alumni Ambassador of the Orange Corners Nigeria Alumni Network. He has a lot to share with us. Last but not least is Ibitoye Segun Emmanuel. He is a recipient of several awards: Abimbev Masculine Panel Contribution in 2021, GACD 2020 Implementation Science Fellowship, which is funded by NIH, the Global Challenge Award for a PhD course on food security at the University of Bergen in Norway in 2018, and 2017 Jali Regional Leadership Conference Fellowship, where he participated in developing practical solutions tailored to sustainable development goals. It is a real privilege to have these erudite individuals come and share with us practical tips that will help us to be able to bring forward a very strong application. So I will yield the floor for the next 20 minutes for Juma to share his screen and also to take us through the step-by-step of putting up a winning application for scholarship.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, so I'll just share my screen. Thank you for that introduction. Can people see my screen? Gbenga, can you see my screen?
Okay, let me see. I'm trying to see if I can, because I can see that some people are giving you a thumbs up. No, I cannot see your screen. I cannot see your screen. Yeah, okay. It's coming up now. Great. Okay, it's coming up. Excellent.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Oh, sorry. There's a setting over there. Is that you requesting to control my screen remotely, Gbenga?
No. I'm not.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
requesting. Yeah. So don't give anybody access. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, do grant access. Yeah, great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys are working hard, man. Anyway, thank you so much for inviting me and for that kind introduction. So as Gbenga said, my name is Juma, and I should have told him that I've just completed my a Master of Public Policy at McGill. So 2 months now, I just started my new job. So that's good news. In Canada here, I think the best thing that I would share is that once you finish school, like you can't stay out for a long time, while compared to Chevening, like you have to go back home. So you kind of have to make those kinds of trade-offs in terms of selecting the country where you want to study. But today, in the allocated 20 minutes, I just wanted to brush briefly about some of these things. We have a lot to say, but limited time. So I think we can also connect outside of this webinar to talk more, chat more about questions or give any tips. I think Gbenga would kindly allow that. So I'll talk about scholarships available and then what to consider when trying to choose those scholarships, and then documents needed, basic stuff that I think most of us know. I don't know if we'll have time to talk about personal statement and essay writing, but I believe that we'll delve into that in the Q&A session, which is the main session for today. And I'm also pleased to be joined by fellow panelists who are more qualified than I am in terms of tackling those issues. So thank you for joining. So now, if you need to study in 2023 September, you should have an inventory list of all scholarships that are currently open, and you need to track them in an Excel sheet if that's possible. The name of the scholarship, the links, various links to take you there, the date, the opening date and closing dates, and whatever else is needed in terms of eligibility criteria. And so if my top tip is, if you think you are not qualified or you don't meet a certain threshold for a scholarship, don't even waste your time starting to apply. So that's a key point, because you'll apply and then you've invested a lot of energy, time, and then towards the end, you realize you don't meet a certain condition. You don't want that to happen. So any person who really wants to pursue these scholarships need to make, this is just an example, but you need to make a big Excel sheet of all those scholarships available, and especially those that you qualify for and meet the conditions. So these are some of them. I do want to talk about the last one in that list though, the departmental scholarships. I think other panelists and other people can attest that some of these scholarships are available once you enroll in that program. So meaning you won't see them being advertised, in a regular website or in the school's portal or something like that. But once you get admission into the school, there are a lot of opportunities for scholarship, and most of them could be partial, just a small portion, maybe $5,000, maybe half of it, or even the whole of the amount, depending on the type of scholarship. So I would say that these other scholarships are out there for everyone to apply, but they are very competitive because they are available to everyone else. So what I would suggest is to reach out to people who have gone to schools that you want to go to, and talk to them about what kinds of scholarship opportunities are available in their various departments. You'll be surprised to find out some of these opportunities, because the truth is that these scholarships provide full assistance, but they are very competitive. So just keep that in mind. A few things I want to touch on. Once you have your list of scholarships, apply to as many as you can. My personal approach is different though, because for me, I identify 1 or 2 scholarship opportunities that I want to pursue, and then I give it my all. But I've seen people who apply to as much as 5, as long as you don't use any money or a lot of money for that sake, and you have the time to invest. Because the thing that happens is if you try to apply for a lot of stuff, you don't give enough effort to any of them. We all know about a jack of all trades and how that ends. But if you think you can, I would advise you to go for everything that you can manage to apply within the window period. And I don't think there are any excuses, because, for example, for Chevening, it was open from August 2nd to November 1st. So that's a whole 3 months for you to put in a very strong application. And then the types of scholarship, as I have said, partial, full. So it depends with what you want really. But if you plan to come to Canada, there's a lot of those partial scholarships, but you'll have to meet the other half and the living costs as well. It's really tough during your study period, but I would say though, that once you finish that phase and then you get a job, you'll return that. That's like an investment that you can be able to return and quickly multiply. And then after that, everything will be okay. So what I usually advise people is don't only confine yourself into scholarship. If you're working and you have some regular income, you could also save and then look for partial scholarships and then support yourself. Because the thing is that if you can, after completing studies, if you can work in a country like Canada, someone back in our home countries who has been working for 20 years and saving all that money, you'll need to work only for 5 years to. So if you work for 5 years, you're in Canada, for example, or in the US, you will have savings worth someone who has worked in a similar position, but in Kenya or in Nigeria, for example. So it's a good investment to me, I think. And I would say don't have multiple options. It's usually very good to have options. And then when coming back to Chevening, there are 3 courses. Well, they say 3 courses or 3 universities. The right approach is to choose 1 course offered in different 3 universities, because that would help you develop your thesis, a common thread that shows you've really thought about what you want to study and you're articulate enough about your career goals, the future plans that they usually ask. But my own opinion is if you choose 3 different courses, you will be all over the place. It's like you don't know what you want. So another tip there, choose 1 course offered in 3 different universities. In terms of selecting the right university, my approach, so you have 3 chances there. So the first option, go for the topmost universities in the UK. So Cambridge, Oxford, King's College, London School of Tropical Medicine, schools like that for your first choice, Edinburgh. And then the second choice are, if you look at the ranking, they're not ranked so high, but also they are not ranked so low. So they're in between there. And then the last choice is the one that have to give you admission. It's like your backup plan if the other 2 refuses you. So it's schools that you know, they don't have a higher ranking, but they are still credible universities in the UK. I personally prefer North America, that to say Canada or the US. Even the US is tricky because once you finish school, you go back home in the next 3 months if you don't get a job. But Canada is a bit laid back. They want people to come, so they allow you to stay. While for Chevening, back home. So all that to say, just look for different options. Don't confine yourself. And then eligibility, and then internationally valid exams, the GRE. If you're going to study in the US, you have to do GRE. You know, if you can, I would highly recommend you do IELTS. Now TOEFL is not recognized by some of these institutions, but IELTS it cuts across different countries. Personally, I've been running away from doing those exams for like forever. I've been looking for schools that at least are relaxed, and I could convince them that, you know, my whole undergrad was in English. I did my high school also in English. So I don't really need this test. If you're lucky, you can get away with it. If you're not, you have to do it. But I would highly advise you, if you have some money, to just do it, because it's valid for 2 years, and most of those scholarships, they will need it. And then be aware of key deadlines. Application fees for Chevening, the schools will not ask you for application fees. So try as much as possible to apply to those schools that indicate their Chevening partners. They won't ask for any fee. And then documentation, we know about that. The other thing is just the documents required. Your resume need to be up to date. Give someone else, send it to someone to look at it, so that it's, you know, it meets the standard. And then letters of reference, I think they give a certain period for you to provide that. So there's a lot of time for you to do that. But because this is an academic scholarship, one of them has to come from your professor or lecturer, or, you know, someone who taught you while you're in college or university. And then the other one could be your mentor, you know, your supervisor at work, anyone you worked with who can attest to your work. And then if you don't have a passport, this is, I believe we are all global citizens. So you need to get this as soon as possible. I've talked to friends who, like, you know, were selected for an opportunity, they didn't have a passport, so it becomes tricky. And then transcripts, we'll talk about the different requirements. Like they say you need, you know, 2.1, 2.2. You don't have to have a first class really to apply for Chevening. The thing is, once the school can accept you, even if you have a second lower, it's all good, because all they need is that unconditional offer. And if the schools you applied to give you that, then, and you have a lot of leadership experience, then, you know, like you don't need the first class really. And I think we've talked about English test. The other thing I wanted to tackle is work experience, because they require 2 years. I think it's 2,800 hours. So the way it's calculated is, it doesn't have to be a full-time paid job. It could be a paid job, internship, volunteer work, as long as it accrues to 2 years of work experience. Because I think in other resources, it's a bit misleading. You would think, you know, you would have to be, it has to be a paid employment, but it doesn't have to be that. The other thing is, I think this will tackle in Q&A, personal statement. The thing I wanted to mention here is you don't need to have applied to the 3 universities when you're submitting Chevening. So I would say, prioritize the application process. You can select your 3 universities and 1 course, and then you will indicate in that application letter. You can cheat a bit. You can say you've applied, you're awaiting decision, but you might not have applied at that point because they will not verify. But what you want to make sure to do is to put in your application in those schools by December. Because after they have started conducting interviews, they will now need the unconditional offer, and you'll be in a tricky situation if you didn't apply yet. Essay writing, there's a lot of things to be said about essay, how to write your essays. So there are 4 main essays. If you ask me, the leadership one is the most important. I think that's, if they were to be weighted on a scale, that would be the number 1, priority that they look at before they look at the other things. And I think if, most of these scholarships need to see how you write your leadership, how you narrate your leadership story. But the key to all those essay questions is to give as much data as you can. If you did a fundraising, identify the skill you gained. So you could say mobilization, resource mobilization skills. For me, in every, I try to write in 3s. That means if they are asking for leadership experience, you give either 1 or 2 scenarios where you are a leader. You don't give everything that you have ever led or done that proves your leadership skills, but you'll identify like 1 or 2 scenarios, and then from that flesh out at least like 3 skills that you gained. So if it was a fundraiser, for how long, for 3 months, you raise $1,000. Like Bade has been doing a lot of fundraising. So if I was to use his example, started a GoFundMe fundraiser, in 3 months, raised $2,500. The funds were used to, implement maybe, I don't know, distribute sanitary towels to girls. How many girls, what was the impact of that? So you get what I'm saying, like a lot of details, because they want to see a picture. Don't be vague. And then identify those 3 skills that you gain from there. So maybe communication skills, networking, resource mobilization, collaborative, something like that. So make sure you identify 3 key things and talk around them. So this was a scenario, this were the skills we developed. There's a lot to be said that I think we can talk about in the Q&A session as far as essay writing is concerned. Now I'll hand it over to Gbenga. I think I've done 20 minutes, but really I think my other colleagues will also chip in to explain further some of their experiences in terms of writing the essay, because this is the meat of the whole application process. And this is what they look at before they look at those other tick boxes that you have achieved. So this is really key. And I'll pass it over to Gbenga now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that very brief and detailed session. I think it's quite loaded. That session is quite loaded. Thank you, Brian, for doing an amazing job. So I already have a load of questions Yeah, but let me just do a quick summary of what you presented to us in the past few minutes. My own take home, so that everyone can actually take note of that. The need for you to apply, apply, and apply. You advised us to actually look for the opportunities that we're actually most qualified for and try and put on a very, very strong application. You gave us the wisdom in selecting schools, how we need to look for an Ivy League school, how we need to look for a moderate school, and how we need to consider a very credible but not very high ranking school. And you advise that it could be great for us to agree on just one course of study and apply across 3 different universities. So probably you must have done that during your own, where you apply for MPH in 3 different universities. So everyone who wants to do that should take a very good note of that. You emphasize that it was great for us to have a valid passport. Let's have Andy a copy of your transcript so that you can use to make a case for yourself. Then you do not need to have gotten your admission before you submit your application for Chevening, but you need to apply to your schools by December. So for everyone that is looking at schools next Chevening scholarship that is closing in 1st of November, so you can put in your strong application with your package, with the knowledge you will get from here and from every other source. You can put in your application while you look for the schools that you put in your application to in your school. So I can see a few questions. Somebody is asking if you are going to be sharing with us the slide. In fact, you will get the video of this particular session. So you get to watch the video over and over again so that you can learn everything you want to learn that maybe you didn't jot down. Somebody is talking about a school in the US. No, Chevening scholarship is targeted at UK universities. So there is a portion of it that is being funded by FDO. I think that's what they call them, a Commonwealth office. So it's strictly UK schools and not US schools. So you can't use Chevening scholarship for US schools. So, but what you gain from this might actually help you to be able to put in strong application for schools in Canada, for schools in US. Our facilitator, the first facilitator, Brian, had already done Chevening. Is currently on a master. He just concluded a scholarship in Canada through MasterCard Foundation. So once you understand how to put in a winning scholarship application, then you're home and dry. Just is a principle. Once you are able to crack the principle, you can apply it over and over in different climes. So somebody is asking you, Brian, please take note of this. He said, what is the advice if you want to keep working there and don't want to return back home? Brian, so please take note. He said, if you want to japa, that's the word. You want to japa with Chevening scholarship. To the best of my knowledge, I know Juma, Brian will actually respond to that. Or how best can you convince them that you are good at English and not produce any English proficiency? If I listen well, he responded that you could actually get a letter from the school where you graduated, stating the fact that you took all your courses, your undergraduate especially, and then if you graduated from secondary school, which is most unlikely no more than 5 years, I think your O level, whatever you get in your senior school certificate can actually help you to make a case for you that you are proficient in English. But Brian is actually going to address those 2 questions about what if you don't want to return, and then how do you convince them that you are good in English and not produce any English proficiency test score. Then also somebody, okay, I've addressed that. Can we have the slides on essay writing? Obviously, you will have the video of this particular session. You get to watch it over and over again. You can apply some of the things you will learn from the question and answer from the conversation, and apply it on whatever you are packaging for submission. He said we should choose top ranking varsity as first choice. Okay, I guess. Yeah, that was what he advised to do. That since it's going to be a fully paid scholarship, don't waste the opportunity. In case you get a scholarship, apply to a very high ranking university, probably an Ivy League. He mentioned their names, either Cambridge or Oxford or London School of Economics or London School of Tropical Hygiene and Public Health or something. So those Ivy League schools, you can actually apply to those schools as first choice. Look for another moderate school, but there is a list of schools that are partners with, you can go to Imperial College, schools that are partners with Chevening on their website, so you can get that one out. Then also someone is asking a question, can one apply for a PhD or master's program with a transcript in master's alone? Can one apply for a PhD or master's program with a transcript in master's alone? There were scholarship opportunities permit staying for job opportunities in STEM country. So if I do not know any other one before, I can sufficiently tell you that MasterCard Foundation scholarship, if you get that scholarship, you don't have to come back to your home country. But Chevening scholarship and Commonwealth scholarship, there's a clause that you have to come back to your country for a certain number of years, or probably stay in Africa before you can go outside of Africa. But Brand, we actually had more to this. So for the question about PhD scholarships, most of the time, if you're applying for PhD scholarship, hope you know that you can actually get PhD direct with a BSc scholarship. You can get your PhD admission and scholarship for PhD using your, in fact, I have experience applying for PhD overseas. You will be required, if you did not study in the US or if you don't study in the UK, to present the transcript of your BSc, and your masters. Even you want to see your ordinary level results so that you can get that. That's Adeza. So that's that. But I know that Brian will still reply to some of these things. So somebody's asking, which school can you recommend for something in ICT career? Okay, great. So Juma, did you get some of the question that was asked? The first one is what is the advice if you want to keep working there, and that's for shifting scholarship, and don't want to return back home? And then how best can you convince them you are good in English and not produce an English proficiency test score? Over to you, Brian. You can put on your video.
Thank you, Beng. So coming back home, there's no other option. Because once you accept the Chevening scholarship, that's a clause that you have to sign, that you have to go back home for at least 2 years. But of course, any law, there's a loophole around it. So I'll teach you some of these tricks, but this is being recorded. Anyway, what I would say though is once you get the study permit to study in the UK, so it's valid for 1.5 years, that's 18 months, and your study is only 1 year. So what you could do is after you, in fact, you can start working as a student, you can work for 20 hours a week. So you can take advantage of that if you want to save a lot of money. You can be studying and at the same time you're working. There's a lot of jobs there. As a student, you could do some research type of jobs, some casual jobs. You could work in a restaurant. You could work in food delivery business. There's a lot to do, and they pay actually well. In a week, I think you're paid weekly, and you could get up to maybe £200. Is it £200 in a week? Yes. And then after you're done with school, and then now you can start working full time up until the last night that your visa will expire. So you have to get out of the country on that, like at least 2 days before your visa expires. So you can take advantage of the 6 months to work and make some money, but you cannot stay in the UK past that time. Because what happens is people try to do that and then you go underground and then you can't get any meaningful work. You work under the table and you're paid peanuts. You start getting abused. And remember, you have your master's degree. So it's not a good way to go. Some people do that, but at what cost, you know? So that's one of the things. You have to go back home. But the thing with that clause is you will not come back to the UK for 2 years. Because remember, this is a government scholarship. So they know when you're applying for visa that you got this scholarship, you sign this clause, so you're not going back. They are not allowing you to go back. But what you could do instead is, because UK is not part of European Union now, so you could go to those other European countries, you know, Sweden, France, Germany, those other countries, but just not UK. So while you're studying, you could be looking for opportunities outside of the UK. So I know a lady who instantly got a job. You have to go back home and then come back to your job. If you got a job in Sweden, for example, so she got a job there. So, but they have to book you a ticket and make sure you've gone home, and then they are clear. So now I'm in Canada, and they don't know I'm in Canada, you know, because that clause essentially does not allow you to go to the UK, but you could go elsewhere. They won't keep track. And the thing with that is you don't go around your social media exposing what you're up to, you know. So you have to kind of lay low, but you cannot remain in the UK. That's one. 2, IELTS. The best way to go about it is to do it, but it's like $300. That's a lot. So for me, I just talk directly to the department, the chair of the department that I will study in, and I give them all the information. I send them, like you said, Gbenga, I send them the transcripts, you know, I send them a letter from the dean of my school, indicating I did my studies in English, and I can actually, you know, get into their system pretty well. So it depends with who you talk to, and it depends if they can bend the rules for you. And especially if you have the scholarship already, because I did that after being selected for the scholarship. And when you're selected, you have a month window period to get back to them and give them unconditional letter. So at that point, I had the conditional letter. And the condition was I had to fulfill the English test. So now with the English test, I try, because I had the letter already from Chevening. So I told them, you know, it's them who will lose that money. So they have to give me the unconditional letter. But it really depends with the school. Some of them will not bend the rules for you. Back to you, Gbenga.
Excellent, thank you. You know, you're actually giving this tip as an insider, and I know that our participants are actually gaining first-hand information from someone that have actually tested and handled these things, which is a very great one. So somebody is asking that, is MasterCard Scholarship open currently for UK study? I know we are discussing Chevening Scholarship, but the person wants to know that MasterCard Foundation Scholarship, is it also available currently for UK? Do you have a question? Do you have an answer to that question?
I know they were running a scholarship program in Edinburgh. I don't know if it's still ongoing though, because I know there's a bunch of MasterCard Foundation scholarships open in South Africa and the US right now, because they just ended the one in McGill that I attended. And they also ended the one in BC, at University of British Columbia, because it was like a 10-year contract and it ended. So they are now trying to talk to see if they can support PhD students instead. But the one in the UK, I have to check though. I know they were running one in Edinburgh. But those in the US, Berkeley, and South Africa, they are open now.
Okay. Yeah. So that's that information. I think the person who asked that question should take note of the response that you have given. Thank you so much. I think that's great. I can see a couple of persons just dropping questions in the chat. If you want to ask any question, you can raise up your hand using the raise hand icon on the in the Zoom place. So just raise up your hand. Yeah. So someone is asking that, can you help review someone's SOP? How many, if yes, how many can you help review? Can you help review a personal statement? If yes, how many can you review? So, and I know that we have a couple of reviewers on this. If I don't know anybody, I know that Gbade is a very good reviewer. And I know that Segun is one of the best reviewers of scientific articles, having published plenty articles in Lancet. We are privileged to actually have him. So what I'm going to do is that before we answer any question, let me just give us, let me give Gbade first some few minutes. You know, you've listened to Brian. So you've listened to Brian. So can you just share some things with us? Some of the things you've used that have helped you to succeed in some scholarship application that you've done. You can do that in just 3-5 minutes. So just share from your head. We want to connect with you from the heart. This is going to be recorded. People are going to be able to watch this over and over again, and then apply some of the tips you'll be sharing with us. Then after that, we go to Segun before we take more questions and answer them. Over to you, buddy.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Asaolu, and good evening. Thank you very much for putting this together. And I must also say thank you to Brian for finding, time to be able to organize it. Present in this session. Honestly, Brian has spoken. Brian has won virtually all the scholarships in this world. So whatever he has said is firsthand. It's an insider information, and he's also someone I fall back on to also get some tips. So he has done justice to the Chevening scholarship application, and I'm sure that if we're able to put one or two of these information to use during our application, I'm sure that we can at least stand a chance, of getting in. Maybe just to add 1 or 2 points to something that has helped me in winning some scholarship. I would say that it's very important that you have a structure. So for example, you can't tell a story from nothing. So what are you telling your story from? So for example, do you have your personal initiative that you've been probably working on over time? So like Brian said, you're able to crowdfund some money to provide either sanitary pad or provide some intervention. The structure is that how those things done, under a structured organization. So for example, is your initiative registered? Or you're working, for example, let's say PaceSetter, you're working with PaceSetter, and you're the program manager, you have a structure around the story that you are providing. Secondly, are there evidence to this? Can you add online links to whatever you are writing that the reviewer can visit? For example, you have a website of that particular intervention, or it can even be your social media. So it's also very important to take a closer look at what you are sharing via your social media, because that could also serve as a platform where you can project or tell your story about what you're doing, and add some of these links to your application for reviewers to go to and see some of the things that you've claimed, around your story that you are doing. So it's also important to, tell a story, tell an intriguing story, that will connect right from your first word to your last word. Either you are using statistics or you are using your personal story. It has to connect. It has to really be emotional. It has to be something the reviewer can connect. These are some of the tips I've used, in putting applications together. And, I've been able to win few of these scholarship, and so these are some of the few tips I've used. And maybe lastly, I will also say that no man is an island of knowledge. Always have someone to review your application. No matter how good you are, there is every possibility that you have some error somewhere, hidden somewhere, even if you read the application like 4 or 5 times, that you won't be able to spot. If you probably have someone who has won that particular scholarship before, I always believe in learning from the source. If you have someone, so like Brian now that has won the Chevening scholarship before, it's quite easier, for him to be able to tell you, do this, do that, because he has tested the strategy, he has won it before. So it's very important, if you are able to get someone who has won that particular scholarship before, to review or give you tips about, how to go about it, or just have a second look, about your application with somebody that is, that has, a bit of knowledge, probably in story writing, has won 1 or 2 scholarships before. So it's always help in the overall packaging, of your application. And with that, I feel that you can really stand a chance, of getting shortlisted, because that is the first stage. Then you can now prove yourself, put a face behind the application. So I think these are just a few points, I have, but I must say that please hold Brian very, very tightly. If you can also reach out, like you said, after, this webinar, is a great resource that can, really tell you this is what you should do, and trust me, it works. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. So I'm happy to hear that. So I'm happy to hear that the medicine that our main speaker has come to prescribe for us today is going to work, because someone that has taken it before is telling us that it's working. So, but one thing I actually picked from Gbade's contribution is that you need to tell a story. A good friend of mine used to tell me that fact tells, story sells. He said fact tells and story sells, because you can never go wrong telling a story. Story grabs attention, evokes emotion, and then makes or influences decision. So try and see if you can share any of your story in your application. Let me not share any further tip, because we have everyday people on this call, and this is more like a community of practice. People that have tested it, that have done it, that are here to share with us what has worked for them. And I believe that once you apply it, it will work for you. It's just like a principle. Once you apply those principles, it doesn't matter your color, it doesn't matter your place of residence, it doesn't matter your continent. Just apply the principle and it will work for you. Segun Ibitoye, Prof, over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. All protocols really observed. Thank you, Dr. Asaolu. I can't. It's a very big honor. As a disclaimer, Dr. Asaolu has always been a mentor to me, and I'm very privileged to learn a lot under him. Okay, so that being said, I, as a person, whenever I want to write or apply for any scholarship, mostly the scholarship I used to apply for are academic based or research based, like PhD fellowship or sponsorship or for research ideas. So my own is a bit different from the type of scholarship that has been discussed earlier. But one of the main things that I do is that whenever I want to apply for an application, I first of all go online to read more about the success stories of those that have, when people are selected for fellowships, they used to interview them and write a bit about, they write a bit description about what each person wrote on and what they are doing and the motivation for them to apply for the scholarship. So I now create a profile of all those people that have won the fellowship. So I now jot down, okay, for example, maybe Bade wrote on, let's say maybe he wrote on teenage pregnancy, Dr. Asaolu wrote on maybe insecurity, and maybe another person, Solomon, wrote on mental illness. So I now write all those topics and I jot them down. And from there, I now look at what is now the key issue that is that I can write on that is tailored to the scholarship that I want to apply for as my motivation for applying, or my own personal statement that will fit into the profile of the scholarship that I'm applying for. For example, you can look at maybe is the joblessness in the country, or is insecurity, or is kidnapping, or is teenage pregnancy, or is water insecurity, or it's domestic work exposure among pregnant women in your environment, and how it is leading to maybe adverse birth outcome. Or you want to look at the, let's say, the divorce, the impact of divorce on marital status or something like that. So you now draft your application looking at that to tailor into what you want to apply for. When you finish doing the draft, the second thing I do is that I always have a group of mentors within my sphere. I have a lot of mentors. Most of them are professors. Some of them are doctors. I send the draft to them. They help me review and edit, correct the tenses. They say these ideas does not connect. Now, applying for an application is like a body. Look at your application like your body. If you have an injury on your head, it's going to affect your entire body. If you have an injury on the eye, it's going to affect your body system. So everything must connect. The idea, the abstract must connect with the methodology. The methodology must connect with the conclusion. So, and that is why a mentor or somebody that has gone ahead of you comes in. They help you to sync the idea and say, no, there's a gap in this statement. This statement failed off the focus. You have to revise this. You have to revise that. So you send in, and then when you send the your draft statement of purpose or motivation letter on the methodology of how you want to implement the scholarship or the research idea when you get to the host institution, you have to follow up, because a lot of people are very busy. So you have to follow up, send a reminder through text message so that they give it to you within a very short time. And when they give it to you, you don't sleep on it. You quickly revise and send back. So the timely rewriting and rewriting, it will become very. Key thing I also do is that prior to an application, if I'm fortunate enough to have somebody that has won the fellowship I'm applying for in my institution or in another institution, I go online to search for their email or their phone number or something. I try and send them a message, and I'll send the application. It has passed through several reviews from mentors and all the others. I still send it to the person to help me review. Does this idea sync? Does it look like something that can be funded? So by the time it comes back to me, it has become well refined. Then another thing the most important aspect is that your recommendation letter. All the scholarship that I've won, or the fellowship that I've won, the NIH, among others, that I've won for the research, among others, on the global action for chronic disease, I always draft the recommendation letter and I send it to them to help me put it in their own words. And then I ask them that, please, ma, or please, sir, can I have a copy of my recommendation letter before you submit it? So as to know, because if you don't get a recommendation letter from people who know you personally, you may most likely not win the scholarship. Because, and another thing is that there's a way in which you will want to describe yourself because you know the focus of the fellowship. For example, if you're applying for something about ethics now, the recommendation they want to give you must talk about ethics, must talk about how you are a responsible person, how you are there to research ethics, how you are able to work independently with minimal supervision, how you the benefit of such scholarship, how it will contribute to global development or to your own country development or bring about a particular change. So they must speak and then they must describe you how they know you. For example, most likely you can look at somebody that have known you maybe for like a minimum of maybe 1 year to 4 years so that they can be able to describe you on a personal note with very short sentence, but very powerful. Then another final thing that I usually do is that whenever I write an application, I used to, first of all, jot down all the ideas I write them. It's mostly very, very long. Then I start cutting them down. I start pruning them down. If they say you have to write an application of 250 words, make sure that at most your application is not more than 230. Always leave the room for that 20 or 30 words so that by the time addition comes in, they say, okay, remove this one. You are not saying this the right way. You are still within the word limit. So those are some of my own little tips. Thank you so much.
What a scholastic submission. Thank you so much. That was indeed a very scholastic contribution from you. I really appreciate it. In fact, the first point actually coincide with what I wanted to share. So a friend of mine who I heard that quote from, that facts tell and story sell, is actually an alumni of the Mandela Washington Fellowship Program. So he shared with us what he did at one point when he wanted to get the Mandela Washington Fellowship Program. He said he went online, just like Segun said. He read all the guidance, articles, interviews that past winners have ever published on the internet. He said he got everything and he had like about 1,500. He pasted everything on the Word document and then he consumed everything and made his jottings. By the time he was done consuming everything and he submitted his own application, he knew in himself that it was going to be the part of the next cohort. And lo and behold, he got into the next cohort, wowed them at the interview. They obviously got selected because he actually drew insight from different people or past winners. So I think it's a principle we can apply in our lives, in any scholarship application, and in any different endeavor. For example, if you have an interview or you want to put in an application for a job, you can do such also. Look at different CVs of people that are doing that particular, play that particular role, or look at different application or interview by such persons, package it together, and then giving a very strong. And then I learned something from Segun and Bade, that you never underestimate the power of peer review. You can't be perfect. You might have actually missed or omitted some things. Don't get deceived or deceived that you know it all, or that you are capable, or that you've crossed all your T's and dot all your I's. A fresh perspective of someone can actually help you. So somebody was asking me that from the chart, Eyitayo, that where exactly does storytelling comes in. So I think what you're going to apply now is for you to apply that principle. So do you have people that you know as scholars that have won things? Because these scholarship boards, they use plagiarism check, so they can know if you copy someone. But if you go online, you will see people that help, people that actually mentor others. I know one of them on LinkedIn, Dr. Ishaku something. He has pasted several types of SOP and personal statement that's won him different scholarships. All you have to do is to get like 7 or 10 of them, read it. By the time you read it, you understand the pattern and the principles underlying it, and then you can replicate it. Some of them is about storytelling. So you don't have to tell their story because you have a different story. You weave your own story into. So I think the answer to your question is get samples, personal statements that have won scholarship before, read them, understudy them, and apply the principles in those personal statements or statement of purpose, depending on what they call it, either SOP or PS, and weave in your own story as it relates to you. And then on the chat, we shared with you 2 things: the link of the lead presenter, the LinkedIn link, and also the YouTube video where he has extensively explained how to write your leadership essay. So apart from this that you are going to get, he has actually shared with us a YouTube link where you can go and watch how to. Another thing you can do also on YouTube is that there are a lot of people that will have done videos, that will have uploaded video of sessions like this. They will share with you samples, link to samples that you can actually adapt, or you can draw inspiration from, and then you can apply it. Another thing I want to share with you is that don't underestimate the power of peer review. Then the power of your reference, like you said. So that means there's a need for you to be hardworking. So be ready to write. Apart from writing your statement of purpose and personal statement, have at least 3 solid reference letters that you have written on yourself that you can tailor towards any application that you're making, so that you will not give the people doing referee for you, you will not burden them. They will be able to tweak it and then also put their signature on it. I think we've been able to draw enough wisdom, but perhaps we have additional questions. There's a WhatsApp group already. You can ask questions from the admin of the WhatsApp group, but I will not allow this meeting to go without listening to 2 people. I belong to a lot of networks, and I have 2 respected persons in my network down this call. So they're not shy to the mic, but I would want to actually have their take on this meeting so far, if they have further question or if they have additional comments. I'm starting with Kachi Wachuku. Kachi Wachuku, are you there? Do you want to mute your mic? We want to hear you say something about the entire webinar, and then if you have additional comments to say. Thank you. Over to you, Kachi.
Oh, good evening, Gbenga. Thank you very much for this opportunity. In fact, this has been very rich. I mean, hearing from people that have traveled the routes that you want to go is very enriching. From Brian to other presenters, I've really taken out a whole lot. Yes, I mean, I took interest in applications, and I'm looking at by September, gaining admission, securing scholarships. In fact, when I saw the McBain scholarship, I was like, oh wow, because I actually entered for that one. So yes, I mean, the teaching has been really, really rich. And I really look forward to this being a real community of practice. By that, I mean being in a group together where you can always send out something to someone, ask questions, seek clarification, and then you ask some of the facilitators, are they able to review statement of purpose and all of those kind of things. If it's something that is available, I mean, is the kind of support that if provided beyond this webinar is the real value addition. So for me, that's my idea of a community of practice, and I honestly look forward to having that. Thank you so much once more for putting this together.
Thank you so much for coming, and we are happy to have you. I think it's been an absolute pleasure to have you. So I can see somebody's hand up, Roslyn. Let me see. Let me allow you to unmute. Roslyn, you want to speak? So okay. See if you can unmute yourself. Excellent, great. Yeah, you have the floor, please. Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to see Dr. Asaolu. I watched your lecture on data analysis in M&E just a while ago.
Wow.
And I'm so happy to see you in person via this webinar. I also want to quickly use this opportunity to acknowledge Dr. Segun Ibitoye. He happens to be my my senior colleague from the Department of Health Promotion and Education, University of Ibadan, where I did my NPH program between 2018 and 2020. I know him as a senior colleague and research assistant under Professor Oladepo, my supervisor. So Dr. Segun, nice to see you again after 2 years or so. And speaking about the webinar in question, I have really benefited a lot. I used to be very enthusiastic about writing, academic writing, and making applications for opportunities, especially global opportunities that takes you off and on the shores of Nigeria. I have in the past enjoyed 1 or 2 benefits. Those years I used to be very engaged with it. But at a point in my career pursuits, the passion dwindled, not because I lost my my zeal about it, but because there were several attempts I made that failed. I kept on having, each time I made an attempt, especially between the year 2017 and 2020, there were a series of applications, including applying for admission abroad and all of that. You know, I have written a lot of applications. I have a dedicated folder on my computer, which I named online engagement. You know, things I've done over the years, applications I've made, essays I've written, so many scholarship opportunities that I've attempted, including the Mandela Washington Fellow, of which I made it to the semi-final stage in 2020/2021. I made it to the semi-final stage, but but lost out eventually because the final feedback was, sorry, unfortunately, the competition was, you know, those kind of love letters they send you now when they are not ready, or they are not impressed by your effort and all of that. So listening to this webinar this night, in a way, has gone, you know, it took me back memories, trying to rejuvenate those things that I have indirectly put aside in order to face a more promising future in my own thinking. So I'm really impressed by all the tips that has been given on the webinar tonight by all the award-winning global scholarship recipients, including my senior colleagues, Dr. Sheg. I call him Dr. Chevening Ibitoye. I'm not sure he will, unless he sees my picture, he will remember me. So I'm really excited. I don't know, I'm feeling differently tonight, I must confess, because the webinar brought a whole new feeling. Like, it took me back memory lane. I started remembering all the applications, all the essays I used to write those days, all manner, I mean to say all manner. You know, I don't know how I feel. I don't want to sound too emotional about it, but being given the opportunity to speak up tonight is a way of, you know, giving me the opportunity to, you know, open up, because these were my personal struggle. Like, nobody knew about all of this except me and maybe one or two friends, intimate friends I had then when I was engaged with those activities, you know. So this is like an opportunity through this webinar to have a voice, to talk about my failures and some of the you know, experiences I had that turned out in the negative in the past as a result of me attempting to write essays or attempting to make applications for scholarships and all of that. And from all the things I've jotted down tonight, it has really enriched. Now, even there was a time, I mean, when Dr. Gbade was talking, there was something he mentioned that made me realize about two applications in the past that I didn't apply a particular principle, which I now had the understanding that if I had done this, I think I would have made it, because all the applications were you know, near to win situation. It was a near to win situation. Like, you would write and you get feedbacks, but eventually they will say, no, you are not enough and all of that. So when we also share the stories, we should also share the failures that comes with it. People will think you will just sit down, you won't do anything with your life, you just sit down and be writing essays. You know, there will even come a time in your life when you've made so much attempts and it's not forthcoming, and all of a sudden your priority will change, your attention will be, you know, it will be.
I agree with you.
Yes.
So I agree with you that it's good for us to have a balanced view, and thank you for actually bringing that balance. So, you know, I can see that we have a couple of hands up, but by the time we are rounding up, I think we will allow people to also let us know that it's not all bed of roses. You know, there will be time that you will have rejection, but it is an opportunity for you to begin more intelligently, you know, so that you can look at it from another perspective and make it better than the last time you applied. So thank you so much for your submission.
I agree with the last speaker who said, I just hope that this platform will be a sustainable something that should be happening consistently from time to time, so that it will keep somebody like me, who all of a sudden my passion dwindled and my attention got diverted to something, you know, you understand. So it will keep somebody like me, you know, back to my feet, or to bring back that zeal, because I know I have the skill, I have the passion, I'm very dogged about it, and whatever I set my mind to, I make sure that I achieve it, you know.
Excellent.
So
I agree. So I agree with you. So let me take it from you from there. So this is actually a community of practice. We have this right to win has existed since last year, September. So we did 2 sessions of this webinar, September and October last year, so that people that wanted to apply for Mandela Chevening and Chevening Scholarship could do it. And now we are revisiting again. That group has existed, but we decided to expand it beyond the 100 and something persons that we had. Even sometimes early this year, we also had a session with another friend of mine that was one time an Oxford scholar. So it's actually a community of practice. What I would advise us to do eventually is to reach out to myself on WhatsApp and see how you can get a link into the group, because the group will have opportunity. We share a lot of resources with us. Thank you so much for your submission. I think it's actually great having you, and I can feel the emotion. I can feel that you've actually gained something tonight. The second person I wanted to call up after Kachi is another person, another network that I belong to, Adeiza, before we take the final comment for this evening. Adeiza, please, you have 3 minutes, no more than 3 minutes to talk actually. Over to you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Afternoon and good morning, depending on the time and location you're joining me from. Firstly, I want to start with appreciation. It is indeed an honor to be in the room and get lots of information, knowledge, and nuggets from great minds who have not only witnessed the process, but have been part of a system, escaped the system and walked through it, and now they are giving back. So thank you very much. So just to add to what she said in respect to being part of a community that would serve as a linkage, as a guide, as an anchor in provision of support towards the process of the whole process, application, review, and basic tips on how it's done, what is expected. So it's been responded to, we should communicate with you, and that will be done. So basically, appreciation, and a lot, even though I've been kind of on and off. But thanks to the recording being done and disseminated, like you said. So I would review, go through it, and put in questions where I have any. So thank you very much once again.
So thank you so much, Adeiza, for your comments. It's well appreciated. So for people that want to join the WhatsApp group, I'm dropping the link of the WhatsApp group right away. I don't want you to miss out, so that you can join the group right away. So that's the WhatsApp group. You can copy somewhere. Yeah. So you can copy it somewhere so that you can engage further in this group. So I will. Branch, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still here.
So please indulge. Pardon me. I want to give you the opportunity to have a closing remark. If you can summarize and speak to us, not from the slide now, from your mind, from your hearts, the things that you advise anyone or everyone to do to put in a winning application. So just, you can give yourself 1 or 2 minutes, put up your thoughts, give us that closing remark. We want to see your face. We want you to speak to us from your heart. The things that we need to do to be able to become that scholar that we ever dream of. We know you have the keys. You know you have cracked the nut. You have unlocked the chest. So you should please share with us from your heart some of the tips that we can follow. Thank you.
The tips are very simple. I think by now all of us know that there's no simple. If you want something good in life, like, you have to work for it. People say, "Oh, you're just lucky. You won these things and you're now moving into something else. You're very lucky." But the truth is, they don't know, how many sleepless nights sometimes you had to undergo just to, work on this thing that you really want to achieve. So my rule is simple, really. Research. If you need something really as bad as you say you need it, just go for it. Like, there's no simple way out. Simple things come very fast, but then they also disappear very fast. So what I would say, research as much as you can, have clarity of mind, what you want to achieve, have it really articulated in like a paper or a notebook, that you can, wake up every morning feeling really energized to conquer. So for me, when I want to do something, I really research about it. So if it's this scholarship opportunity, just read anything and everything you could, read past essays, read a lot of, there's a lot of instructions, by the way, online. Some of this information, it's available for your consumption. There's a lot of videos that have been, put up there in YouTube. Educate yourself and do your bit. Let God do his bit if you're religious, but you have to do like 95% of the work. It's never about luck. I don't believe in that. And then let's go for multiple options. You might be working now, but deep inside you want to pursue further studies. Just go for it and then have it on the table, put everything on the table, and then decide from there where you want to go to. It doesn't hurt to always have multiple options to choose from. As far as this scholarship is concerned, just make everything perfect, cross all the T's, no grammar mistakes, nothing. Because what happens is it goes first through an electronic sifting system, and there they kick out people who are not eligible. And then after that, a human person reads your essay. And the thing with this review committee is they get pissed off at very little things. And that means, your sentences, you might not have, there are conspicuous grammar mistakes. There's few things that you could have fixed if you could have spent more time reading your essay and then giving it to someone else. Final thing that has already been said is about failure. It's not a guarantee that you will get this opportunity. It's sad, but it's the reality. Like nothing is guaranteed in this life. We will go to bed. We are not sure whether we'll wake up tomorrow morning, but we still trust that everything will be fine. If you don't get selected, you move on, try again, don't give up. That's the only thing I can say, because if you give up, then who knows the possibilities that you just prevented yourself from gaining. So it was really, I think, a wonderful session, and thank you so much, Gbenga, for organizing this. We had a bit of tricky start, but you handled the situation really swiftly. That happened. So, and thank you everyone who attended. Gbenga shared a link I posted in YouTube, I think yesterday, on leadership essay. So you could get a few more tips from there, and also we could engage in through LinkedIn. So thank you so much. Gbenga?
Yeah, thank you so much, Bran, for those closing tips. I think they are going to do a lot in helping us. We really enjoyed you. We enjoyed the simple way of transferring knowledge. And I'm sure that a lot of people have actually gained a lot of things. I know that a lot of people will still have more questions in their minds, but I'm happy that we can share that in the WhatsApp group that has been shared. Also, when you see the YouTube link of this particular session, we can engage on the comment section. If you have any question, Brian, we have an access to the link, and we can answer each other question in that YouTube link that will be sent to every one of you. Thank you so much for taking out time. Brian, I'm most grateful for your kindness. We've not seen before in person. We've not spoken before. All we had was a WhatsApp conversation based on recommendation from Gbade, and you took this responsibility. So those are some of the qualities of great people. They are willing to give back, And then he has demonstrated that by giving back to the society. Every one of you, all the things we've learned today, you will have access to the video again. We can go and look at it over and over. If you have any question, drop it in the comment section of that YouTube page. You can actually chat directly the admin of the WhatsApp group and you'll get your reply. So thank you everyone for being a part of Right to Win. This is the third edition in the series. If we have further edition, we'll let you know. But I wish every one of us success in our different endeavors. Thank you for coming. Do have a wonderful evening, afternoon, or morning, depending on where you're joining from. Thank you, everyone. Over and out. Thank you.